will get started. Welcome, everyone. I'm excited to have everyone here. Today, we're going to be talking a little bit in depth, really, about parenting in the adult entertainment industry, kind of what that means for us, what that means in terms of different conversations that we may have, and also how it makes us feel. So we're excited to have this workshop today. So just a little bit about us, just so that you guys kind of know who we are. We are from Lyme Counseling. Lyme Counseling is a mental health organization, and we are really built from this idea that life does not always give you lemons. So the idea that sometimes we're handed limes or a tomato or cabbage or something else that we have no idea kind of how to navigate, what to do with it. We have these different feelings that come up from time to time, and we just don't know how to navigate it. And so what do we do when kind of life hands us these unexpected things? That's why we're here. We're here to help. We're here to make sure that when you have those times of kind of feeling overwhelmed or scared or confused, that you have that support. So that's what we kind of are here for. So ideally, we really want to make sure that people are living healthier, happier lives. That is our ultimate goal here. So we want to make sure that we provide a safe and welcoming, accepting, and of course, confidential environment for everyone as well. So here's a little bit just about what we do. Like I said, we do offer kind of mental health outpatient services. Everything that we do is virtual, so video, phone. We do also have some text sessions as well. We do work with adults, and we kind of advertise ages 14 and up. So anyone that we feel could be fit for telehealth services. Adult entertainment industry workers are an area of our specialty, so we're excited to be here today to talk with you all. Group confidentiality. This is just a couple different little group rules as we get into our conversation today. So just making sure that any information that is discussed within the group stays within the group. We would like to make sure that we are being respectful of other people's feelings, thoughts, and opinions. I like to remind people we certainly do not all have the same thoughts and feelings and opinions, and that is okay. That is part of what makes our world go around and such an amazing place. So in order to just make sure that space is respectful and safe, we just keep in mind that idea of making sure we're treating others the way that you would want to be treated. So showing that respect just kind of helps to instill that safety and trust within our group environment. So no group member is ever required to share or answer questions or participate, but participation is certainly strongly encouraged. We want everyone to get the most out of the group. There will be some questions. We want to hear from you. This is going to be more kind of conversational in nature. We're going to be presenting information, but also kind of talking through some of these different topics as well. So we will get started. Christina is here today. She is with us from Lyme Counseling, and we're going to hand it off to her, and she is going to start with some icebreakers. So when we go into this portion, as we do kind of ask questions, feel free. I think you guys might be able to come off of mute. I'll have to see. If not, feel free to put it in the chat. We'll kind of read some of those responses and kind of have a bit of a conversation that way. So I will hand it over to Christina now. Start with our first icebreaker.
Hello, everyone. I'm Christina. So, what is your favorite snack? I know my favorite snack is I like candy, specifically chocolate or Nutella.
I do like Nutella as well.
Is that one of your favorite snacks, Miss Amanda?
I definitely like Nutella. I think I really like that like salty and sweet combination, especially like at the end of the day, which is terrible, but it's the go-to, right?
We need it. We need it. Does anybody have
Anyone
a
else?
favorite snack?
Hello, all. Can you hear me?
We can.
Oh, okay. Thanks to this thanks thank you to make this for us. I'm new, and it's the first time when I come to see you. So it's quite interesting what you propose to people who work in adult industry. So thank you guys for being here for us. What is my favorite snack? I don't actually eat too much. I make attention on my diet, so it would be quite difficult to respond to this question. Maybe something salted. Olives.
Oh, Clamato olives or green olives, black olives.
Green.
I love olives too. It's a little salty. Love it.
Yes, indeed.
Well, welcome. We're glad to have you here. Does anyone else have a favorite snack?
I think I'm the only person who participates for the moment. Who knows who will be participate soon.
Yeah, and feel free to put things in the chat too if you can't come off of mute or would prefer not to. Feel free to answer questions in the chat as well.
You ever feel like you eat snacks that your children have around? Because I often end up eating the snacks that they don't want, you know?
Goldfish seem to be like a go-to, right? Like these little crackers, like carbohydrated crackers is like always, right? Like these just dry foods that are just kind of sitting around.
Yeah.
All right, we will go to let's go to our next icebreaker.
Okay. Um, what is your favorite childhood memory?
I have to think about this one. I used to go camping with like a babysitter, and it was like kind of a home like little school little babysitter type group, and those were like some of like my favorite times. Those were always so fun. So I always liked that camping. Really good memories from that.
I enjoyed camping as a child as well. I would have to say my favorite childhood memory was going to camp and we did like a week-long horseback ride in the mountains, like the Blue Ridge Mountains. So it's essentially camping too, right? But I love that. I thought it was pretty awesome to be out in wilderness.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Well, I love all about Christmas festivity in childhood. I have a lot of memories with, and all about winter games playing in this season. Yeah,
Christmas is a fun season, that's for sure.
And I see
for
in
the
the
children.
chat, go ahead. I was going to say, I see in the chat here, I also see someone had mentioned riding in the car with their dad on a beautiful fall day. Yeah,
Uh,
I love those kind of memories.
That's lovely. Especially seeing all the leaves turning colors if you live up north or um,
Yeah,
so wonderful. Does anyone
great.
else have a favorite childhood memory?
All right, maybe we'll move on here. We'll go into our main topic.
So, what is parenting? Just think about that for a minute. What is parenting? The definition, the parenting is the process of raising a child from birth to independent adulthood, fulfilling parenting responsibilities, and establishing a healthy environment. parenting also applies to an array of individuals whose presence impact the health and well-being of children. Parenting varies with each individual and situation. Positive parenting is consistent and continual relationship of a parent and a child, including caring, teaching, leading, communicating, and providing for the needs of the child consistently and unconditionally. What is parenting to you all?
To me, well, I think I agree with all that you was saying, and for me, actually I think it's a huge responsibility to be a parent in our days, and even a more huge responsibility to be a parent who works in an adult industry. Um, so yes, I feel responsible for the child. I feel responsible to provide him the needs that he will have to develop well, and to provide it also not also the financial situation, but also the psychological growth. So um, maybe I will not have always the time to provide him all these things. I think you actually feel this, impact that has the parenting for me. So I feeling quite responsible to this.
Absolutely. Being a parent is a full-time job, you know.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, indeed. Actually, I have two jobs. So I'm working in medical health, and I have a job free time, in a webcam adult industry. And I have a child of 5 months. So I'm quite busy. Like all of
Question.
us, I think. I'm not the only busy person, I'm sure. But
This is your first child?
yes, and I think it will be the last. I have 30 years old, 48 years old, 30
Mhm.
years. And I do not make another child. I do not have the project to make another child. But I'm very glad to have this amazing gift of the life. It's wonderful. It's amazing.
I do promise you it gets easier. The first year is so hard, isn't it, Miss Amanda?
It
I,
is. It is.
it gets every month that passes, it's gonna be easier for you.
Yeah.
It's a lot in the beginning. Oh, on here she says, helping the child grow into the person he or she was created to be, even if it's different from what I would want him or for her. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's always a tough piece too. I think especially as kids get older, start to kind of develop who they are, right? Like as they grow into maybe young teens, into young adulthood, and maybe even later into life, right? Like full grown adults. I think that's a really important piece of how do you kind of still love them and give them that unconditional support, even if they're maybe choosing something that you wouldn't, or you raise them maybe in a different way and they're choosing to do something a little different. They're exploring themselves. I think that's a big challenge for a lot of people too. Yep.
Certainly.
Balancing that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Navigating through that could be difficult at times, you know.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yep. Great. We'll go on to our next slide here.
We all know there are many choices and decisions we have to make as a parent, and one of them is the decision to work by holding a job outside of the home. In making decisions to work as a parent, we realize that there are both positive and negative factors. Um, So, for example, working in the adult industry, that might not be negative to us, but it might be negative to another household. Or even working as a server at a restaurant might not be the same perspective as working as a doctor or a nurse, right? So I think that you need to have a positive experience from your choice of work. So in the adult industry, for example, if you can have a consistent work schedule and routine, that can help with the home life, conversations about the importance of work, like completing projects, feeling empowered, setting boundaries for friends and family, and even at work, a special workplace. It's important, in your home to have a special a special place, sorry, where, you choose to work to kind of keep it separate from your
Yeah.
personal life. I think that's super important, maybe even keeping that door locked so people under 18 couldn't go into that area just for safety reasons, right? Or having things locked away. Financially, motivation for continuing your education too, to continue evolving as a working parent. It's difficult as a working parent to juggle all life and, emotional, physical, psychological well-being, but that's why we're here today. We're here today to help you through this. So whenever you're thinking of your positive work experiences, what do you think about? How do you balance your daily routine or your life?
Wow, wow. It's quite difficult to have a balance. Until now, I was concentrated to work, 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 work.
Mm-hmm.
And now the children is here, so I must give him the space that he needs. I must provide him what he needs. So I must not working as much that in the past. So actually, I think there are some. I will make some adjustments to this balance, life work, because I was supposed to to have another way of making things, and now I yes, I must make adjustments and give more importance to to the children and not only to my work. I'm very conscious about that.
Mm-hmm. And especially at that age, Miss Amanda, children nap a lot. So perhaps when they're napping, you can try to juggle working while napping, that could help out with balancing.
When you are, when you are in a webcam adult industry, mm, to become a successful model, you must work for hours. You must be hours and hours and hours in front of on the screen. And in the past, I was actually doing this a lot. And yes, I have my period of success. And now I realize that I will not be able to be such a successful model that I was in the past, because I will not um, have the time to to invest as I was invested in the past. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So change as the child grows and evolves, because eventually the child may go to daycare or school. And so that will open up a window of time and opportunity for you to, work more.
Yeah, yes, but now is the period that he needs me, and I'm conscious for
Yes,
that.
absolutely. Absolutely. I understand. Mhm. How
I'm
about
going to
anyone
go
else?
to our, as I'm saying, I'm going to
Okay.
go to our next slide because I think this talks a little bit about some of these negative aspects here. This first one, like the time management.
Oh, yes.
You
Time
know,
management is a big ordeal. Less time with the family. There's endless to-do lists, awkward situations, multiple jobs, reoccurring problems. We know as a working parent, it could be a lot of change and challenges going on. And right now, um, there she is experiencing some challenges with having an infant, at 5 months old. Even the challenges when they're teenagers, a completely different challenge at that point because they're capable of searching online. Some of this, transition to adapting with working with children, practicalities such as doctor's appointments, childcare centers, um, other logistical matters, communications, inquiring with boss for a flexible schedule, negotiating with your partner, like to pick up the child or to drop off, or if you're doing it alone, that could be very challenging. And um, missing the first baby steps, or even missing the first words or potty training, um, having to choose work over school engagements. Now that is challenging. I know that has been challenging for me as a mother, missing opportunities to go watch my child, but having to work, solutions and preventions, time management, scheduling to try to coordinate your new life as a parent with your work schedule to make it work. Because at the end of the day, we have to make ends meet, right? And so, uh, trying to figure out what works for you is important. But overall, what is the biggest challenge thus far as parents for everyone here? And everyone that's entered, feel free to message in the chat area. What's the biggest challenge for you all as a parent thus far?
I'm just reading this message here. Um, Okay, it looks like this individual has to hop off. I'm going to type in, you can email us at our main email address. I'm going to put that in the chat here. That way you can connect with us if you need to outside of here. But yes, addressing, will we kind of address like kids in high school finding out the parents working in the industry? Yeah, I think that's certainly, it's certainly something that is a big challenge, right? And what do you kind of say to them? We're going to talk a little bit more about some of those specifics. And we have kind of a slide on talking to kids and kind of children in general. Of course, the under 18 piece, how that plays a factor as well. But yeah, if there are things that anybody kind of, that are here today or even watching the webinar later, this is a big topic. It's a very heavy topic and can be very challenging, very complex, of course, because there's all sorts of legal implications around this too. So one of the big pieces that I just want to kind of put out there, if you are struggling to kind of navigate different situations, feel free to reach out to us. Like I said, if you're watching the webinar now or later, it's just the info at Lyme Counseling. We're happy to connect you with people that can support you through a private conversation too, if that's something that you may want, for some additional support around this specific topic, because we know that it can be very individualized too. And of course, this presentation is just kind of more some of the generalized information. So just wanted to put that out there.
Absolutely. Oh, thank you, Sharon.
You're welcome.
She's
But I'll speak a little bit to that. Just working with individuals in the adult entertainment industry, it's conversations that do come up. My kids are a little bit older. One is 18, 16, and 13, soon to be 13. So of course the conversations are a little bit different with each of them. So it's certainly something that is it's interesting to navigate. And of course, each kid is very different. What they know is going to be very different. How the information is presented, who I work with, right? They want to know. They're interested in you as a parent, as a person, right? And as they continue to get older, they want to know more of those pieces about you. So I think it is certainly a it's a very individualized conversation, right? And it can be complicated for sure. And I do see your message, Sharon. Sharon, yeah, you're welcome, and feel free, yeah, to listen later to finish this. So let's maybe go to our next slide here, because
Okay.
this kind of opens up some conversation too.
Okay. How do you feel when people ask you where you work? Do you feel anxious? Do you feel fearful? Do you feel a bit insecure? I know I used to respond with a random answer. For example, I would often say I was an accountant. So then I didn't have to really go much more into depth, you know. Oh, there's a message. This may be unrelated, but uh, a single mom, 50-50 custody, and her ex doesn't know about her current job in the industry. Are there any repercussions if he were to find out legally court custody? I believe the main thing is you can't, right, Amanda, if I'm not mistaken, the items when it comes to work has to be in a separate area or locked up, right? I know that is one rule.
Yeah, yeah. I would say in regards to this, I think there's two separate ways that that question can be answered. Do I
Mhm.
think that there legally could be anything if they find out the work that you're doing in a safe, proper way? Kids are kind of removed from it. The kids are not in any sort of jeopardy. No, I think that legally, right, there's nothing they can do. Do I think that then, of course, we're getting into a conversation more about potential stigma or different kind of biases that people may have if they find out some of that information? Sure, then you may be looking at something a little bit different. um, but I would just say, just to make sure that you're kind of covering your basis, right? The kind of like cover your ass kind of thing, so to speak. You want to make sure that those T's are crossed and the I's are dotted, right? You want to make sure that kids are kind of removed from that work, especially, yeah, younger kids for sure.
I think that you're not allowed to work when they're present. So that's another thing to keep it separate. So if they're at school, then it would be okay. But if they're in the home, then you're not supposed to work while they're present. At least in the state of Florida. Oh, there's another message here. I'm proud of what I do because of people's reactions. I've developed a social phobia, and there are a few people around me.
Yeah.
How did you develop that social phobia? Is it that are you afraid that they know what you do? Or explain? Can you explain? You're welcome, Cora. You're afraid to be recognized. Yes, I could understand that. Have you tried going out, maybe wearing like a baseball cap and perhaps no makeup and tried to blend in? Would that work for you? Are you afraid someone's going to try to hurt you? Is that what you're fearful about? Or is it just a confrontation in general? Yeah, I know a lot of girls that do that as well. Try to blend in with society, um, try to dress down, not to draw attention to them because it's kind of like a separate life, right? So you want to live your online life where you know, you work in the adult industry, and then when you go out and every day, if somebody recognizes you, you don't, it might take you off guard, you might get put off guard.
I always like to remind people too that maybe in this kind of situation here, like if people are recognizing you, that means that they've engaged, right? They've seen you because of the content that they're viewing as well. So it's kind of like, yeah, that does also create this kind of awkward situation of like somebody's recognizing you, and then how do you kind of navigate that? And I always like to remind people, it's like there's nobody better than one other person in that scenario, right? It's like this is where you both are. You're both at this place. Somebody's recognized you because of the work you're doing. They're viewing the work that you're doing. So there's obviously some level of engagement or interest there. Um, but of course, yeah, this idea of like just being a little bit more modest in general and yeah, like baseball cap, right? Like just kind of like wearing things that aren't going to draw attention to you, so to speak. Yeah,
Hmm.
that can definitely
Dressing
be
down.
helpful.
Yes, because there could be a sense of paranoia there too over time, or not feeling safe, you know.
Yeah.
I can see that. Oh, and also I wouldn't post on social media where you are currently, maybe perhaps after you leave, that's something just for safety. If anyone ever does that. Anyone else? When people ask you where you work.
Depends which people. People that are in front of the camera or people in real life. Because if you have two or three jobs, but when people were asking me what do you work, I prefer to say, well, I work in medical care because I work in medical care, but I will not say that I work in adult industry too, because I consider that today people are not ready to accept this. And it's quite a shame because I really like the adult industry performing. So it's not, I think it's not me the problem. And the problem is that people are not ready to accept us.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Some
think
sort of stigma.
yeah, yeah. I was just gonna say it goes back to like that societal stigma that's out there. Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. And right, the idea of like who do you say what to, right? Who gets all the information about what you do versus who may be somebody that just maybe knows a little bit about what it is you do versus somebody else who you may not want to share any of that particular area of your life with. Maybe it's not of any interest to them, it's not anything they need to know, doesn't concern them, right? And I think Christina, that kind of goes back to like what you're saying, like maybe when talking to other people, it's like, well, maybe I just tell them I'm an accountant, right? Like then conversation's done. They don't
Yes.
need that information.
Yes, I know because you have to have boundaries. Once you're in the life with these children, like once you have your children and you're part of the school system and you're a part of the daycare or sports, those people are going to be a part of your life as long as you continue that same routine and live in the same area, but they're going to be a part of your life for a while. So it's, less is sometimes more in these situations or yeah, I wouldn't go into too much detail because you don't want it to jeopardize anything for your child because now we're not thinking about just ourselves, we're thinking about our baby, or our babies. Um,
Yeah,
it's just one perspective, right?
yeah. We'll move on to the next slide here. This next slide just kind of goes over some of these things that we kind of talked about a little bit, but just some of those feelings that could come up as we have the conversations.
Mhm. The anticipation of the conversation is often conflicting as well, right? Do you guys ever get anxiety or guilt? Happy, I mean, happiness, of course, because we love our jobs, right? But the stress and even can spiral into a depression. So think about this question. Do you feel or see yourself practicing scenarios or considering how you're going to respond when you're going to an outing or a get together about your career choice? I know I have in the past.
I didn't actually understood the question.
So when you're going out to like a Christmas party, for example, and you know there's going to be a lot of new family members there or friends, and often the topic of conversation is where do you work? So do you ever rehearse in your mind what you're going to say? Or do you already have a story made up? Or do you tell them that you work
I
in the industry?
I say that I work in a medical heart, so
You're a
I
surgeon.
I, I, I always I always try to have another job too,
Mhm,
and to not tell people that I'm working in adult.
mhm,
So I'm kind of polyvalent person, so I will not say, but I'm not ashamed.
mhm,
Um, I'm not anxious, and I was in the past, but I think my husband supports me a lot. And actually, I was telling him this question, and he said to me, but it would not be the problem. You working, and if someone recognizes you, you assume what you do. Yes, from time to time, you do an adult webcam show. So this is
mhm.
what you are. You are an adult, and you are assume what you do. So if someone really recognize me, yes, I will assume what I do, but I will not, you know, tell everybody, yes, I am doing this. I will tell only if the person demands me, or only if the person recognizes me.
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I'm just seeing in the chat too, we have individuals
Anja?
mentioning my husband and I are trying to tell the truth, but if we see that people react sharply, then we change the topic or try to break up that this is normal work and 90% of people accept it. Yeah. Yeah, and
Absolutely.
I think it is how do we change that social stigma? And I think it is by doing that, right? It's like pushing that bar forward. I think absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
But it's wonderful what are you doing, guys, because I'm working from I mean since 10 years or
Mhm.
12 years. I'm in an industry webcam, and I see that things were changed, and in the very nice way, things are changing, and this is nice for us. When you come back and in the past, and you saw mm, how people in adult industry was viewed. It's a big changes today. I think I think we have a good evolution, I think people are regarding us differently now,
Oh, yes.
much better than in the past.
It's definitely changed since like 2003 when it was still DVDs. I mean, VHS. May I go back and say VHS? It's evolved immensely, I must say. Um, Another area that parents working in the adult industry find challenging is the overall like anxiety associated with work. Have you ever experienced anxiety like going onto the cams or getting ready to go to a shoot or getting ready to make a video? The stress of traveling to a shoot or
Yes,
even
when we talk to the individual that are pressing us, yes, we feel anxious, but it's normal because we have this kind of work, you talk with thousands of people. It's normal that there are people also that are not so good with you.
yeah, especially if there might be a caller or a viewer that's trying to pressure you into do something that you don't want to do. How
Yeah.
do you distract yourself? Like, what would you do? Do you do meditation beforehand? Do you exercise? How do
Uh,
you how do
what
you
should, well,
distract yourself?
it's very simple for me. I pass to another show that to another client that would be. I'm sure it would be much better. You know, it's you have an opportunity to see thousands of people. So if you see and if you have contact with someone in web that is not your type, that's pressure that puts pressure on you, there is the button off, kick out, and next. You know, you will not
Absolutely.
use your time and your heart for a person that you don't match. You know.
How does everyone else navigate through the stress of work?
We have in the chat. I try not to do what I don't want. I take a vacation every 4 weeks. Great. Yep. Yep. I
Like
love
a lot
that.
of fun.
Yep. Balance, balancing it. Yep.
Love that. Mhm.
And
And Anja,
go
go
ahead,
ahead.
Christine.
You're fine. Go ahead, please.
I was to say, even that idea of like removing people from a room or ending conversations, I hear that a lot. Like people will feel bad for doing that, or they, of course, relate that back to their money, their income, because obviously that's money that they're kind of like removing in a way. But I always like to tell people, like, you have to also focus on what you feel comfortable with, remembering that you have worth and value still. And this is not just, I have to do this because this is my job. You do get a choice in a lot of these things still. So I like to remind people of that. And that is one of the really nice features when you're doing online work or phone work, something like that. And you can just remove someone that might be, really creating some level of stress and anxiety for you.
Absolutely.
All right, we'll go on to maybe our next one here.
How do we react to the responses associated with our job? Some people may gossip, some people may admire or live vicariously through you. Some people express anger verbally and shouting, such as family members or even some fans, right? Some may act violently and lash out physically, hitting other people, pushing them, or breaking things, such as like an abusive partner, a friend, even. Um, some of us show anger in passive ways, for example, by ignoring people or sulking. Other people may hide their anger and turn it against themselves. They can be very angry inside and unable to let it out. How do you typically handle responses from others about your job? I know we kind of touched base a bit of this earlier, but when there's a negative reaction from a family, I think that from my history, the most negative experiences would be like ex-boyfriends. I think that it's sometimes challenging when you're dating a new person and you're telling them about your job because maybe initially you didn't tell them, or perhaps you started doing it while you were dating them and they weren't accepting it. How do you all typically handle those kinds of responses, or have you even experienced that thus far?
For me, family is very important. So all of my ex girl, no, boyfriends and partners, I tell them, I was told them what I do, and I even, I even not start a relationship if my
Mhm.
partner do not accept what I do. I'm
Mhm.
very direct and very so I tell him this is what I do. I do this job, I do this job, I do this job also.
Mhm.
are you accepting me as a person, and are you accept what I'm doing or not? If you are
Mhm.
accept, we can start with something. If you are not accept me with what I do, it's not a problem. It's your
Mhm.
problem, so you can go on and choose another person. It was
Mhm.
very direct, and the family also knows what I'm doing, so this is not a problem. And I think when you have a solid foundation family, it's
Mhm.
much easier, to you like a person psychologically. You feel much less pressure. Maybe you don't have a lot of friends because a lot of person in adult industry are very isolated because of that, but at least you have your family, so this is a very important thing. And other people are not so important to me. So if actually they react in a way, well, I depends. I think I would handle. I think I'm in the end to that I would handle.
That's wonderful that you have the support that you need.
Thank you.
Yes, of course. Anyone else?
All right, we'll move on to our next slide, which we talked a little bit about, kind of setting these boundaries.
Yes, setting boundaries with the parents, and in order to maintain our self-care and ensure we are treated fairly and properly, sometimes we have to set boundaries with our children's parents. So, those of you who have children that are in elementary school or daycare system or sports, or even teenagers going into college, we must focus on setting those boundaries. Perhaps limiting the conversations about work. Um, in a traditional setting at a restaurant or, at a get together, people may bring up, hey, how's work? And perhaps you can focus the conversations on the children, limit engaging questions and conversations. So, kind of keep the conversation at the minimum. Yes, you may be proud of your job, but maybe you don't want to discuss it with your kids' families, the mom of the PTA, right? So, let's just keep the conversation based on children or be mindful of your own needs. Sometimes you might take a minute and think about where you need to set some boundaries if you want to keep it separate, because you can't really bring adult conversation around children, right? So um, you can always say that you work in as a webmaster, or you build it's associated with websites or something, so you're not technically lying, but you're not just going into detail, right? So let the talk be more about the children. I think that that's something that has worked for myself and others that I know. But what do you guys think? Do you need to set boundaries with your children's parents or your children's friends' parents? Do you think that's necessary, or how do you navigate through those conversations?
Well, my child is not so big, but if I try to imagine in the future, I think I will limit the conversation, and it's normal to limit the conversation because you need something, you know, something that psychologically is good for your children and for the other person. You will not begin a conversation on the porn subject when you are you know with kids, with someone, with some parents. It's not a safe place to have a kind of this conversation.
Absolutely. Anyone else want to share? I'm surprised, Miss Amanda, how often I used to experience that. Like it was like one of the minimum conversation of every, meeting. And I would just kind of switch the subject, and
Yeah,
that always worked for me, but not that that would work for everyone, right? Because some parents will come back to that question. And
yeah, yeah. They
it's
want
like
to know what you're doing.
they want to know how you afford soccer, right? So
Yep.
soccer's
Yep.
not cheap. But I was just curious if anyone else has been confronted or with a conversation like this or had to navigate around that.
I don't think we have anyone else. Maybe we'll keep moving forward. All right, let's move on to our next slide.
Oh, we did touch a little base about this earlier, but I'll go over it again. On conversations with children, sharing job titles, under 18 boundaries, even feelings of guilt, dealing with the family, extended family, judgmental, and tips and tricks. What has worked for you in talking to your children about it? So if your child asks, what do you do for a living, mom? Can you come to my career day at school and talk about your job, mom? Like, how would you respond to that kind of conversation? Would you let them know that you have to work, or would you let them know that, you know, um, perhaps your job won't allow that? Or how would you navigate through that? Having the conversation with children, they will want to know how mommy works or how daddy works, or does that even bother you? You know, does that like changing the
Well,
subject?
a lot of us in our days, a lot of people have, uh, kind of um, work in front of the PC. They are not. Um, I don't know what you call this in English, but they can't work from their home in
Mhm.
front of a PC. So you can tell them that yes, I'm working now. I'm with some clients. I make sales. I make entertainment. So now you must leave. You must leave me because I'm busy. But I will return. So now is my period of work.
Absolutely. Like customer service from home,
Yes, something like that. Yes.
an example. Absolutely. Anyone else?
Maybe I'll just speak a little bit, just to kind of reiterate what I mentioned before for the individual that kind of is looking for like teenagers, right? Like, what do you share with
Yeah.
teenagers? And again, I think it's going to be very individualized. It's going to really depend on that developmental stage of that teen, that child, right? What things have they maybe already been exposed to via society, social media, whatever the case may be? What is their kind of knowledge already about these different kind of adult entertainment industry platforms and things like that? So I think that all of those things are to be taken into consideration as you maybe have these conversations with, of course, older teens getting into like young adulthood. I think all of those kind of pieces have to play into it. So I think it's really a very individualized conversation with the kids. But of course, yeah, when we're talking about younger kids, we're looking at those boundaries, right? We want to make sure that we're being, like someone had mentioned, kind of like the legal aspect of things. How are we keeping these very clear boundaries, setting up ourselves for success in the professional realm as well as our personal life, because both are very important. And it can be done successfully, right? I think that's the key piece is like you can keep things separated, you can kind of navigate it that way. I think it just has to be done very thoroughly, right?
Yes, I totally agree that as you say, it depends on the age of the children. When
Yeah.
he,
Oh, yeah.
you can tell in this thing, but when he will be a teenager, you must adapt the situation. You must inform him a little about what you are doing and what he knows about this industry. What yes, and I think in the future, I'm sure that my child will take, and I want him that he will take some, psychological support. Uh, Only to to be able to understand and to understand what I am doing and yes, I will like to provide him some psychological support because I don't know what he will react actually, and what is so is that what I'm afraid that also a thing that I'm afraid that when I think of the future is also the public exposure and the public violence in school. You know, today there are cases with teenagers that are suicide. There are, violence at school. There are discrimination, and this is I'm afraid. I'm not afraid about the adults that come to me and maybe will come and you will tell me, oh, you are working in the adult. No, that's I know how to react. I am afraid about the position of the other children to my children when maybe they will know what I'm done, what I do, because you cannot guess what will be the children reactions.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And definitely all things to take into consideration and navigating those conversations. Yeah. Yeah. All right, we'll pull up our last kind of official slide, which is our tips and tricks. Oh, I lied, not the last official slide, but we'll keep moving through these. A few more, 2 or 3 more slides.
Tips and tricks in the conversations. Check yourself. Don't dwell. Change the way you think and perspective. Engage in relaxation methods. Get active. Improve communication skills. And recognize and avoid triggers. Also, if you have the teenagers, I would suggest blocking those accounts from social media so they can't find you because now the algorithm picks up phone numbers like in your contacts and your I would keep a separate phone, personal and work, and try to separate it. Change put a lock on your phone so nobody can access your phone. Children especially if you have adult content on your phone or even computer.
Mhm.
Remember that everyone has a perspective, and you must have unconditional positive regard, the attitude to complete acceptance and love for yourself and for others. I think loving yourself with the unconditional positive regard is very important, and that can get you through a lot. Any questions, thoughts, comments?
I know we're at our time for today. We'll leave this slide up. We'll stay for another couple minutes. If there are questions, thoughts, or comments, definitely let us know. Again, feel free to come off mute or write in the chat. We're happy to answer questions or anything like that that you guys may need. And I will put our email address in the chat again for those that may need it.
Yeah, thank you. It was a really a pleasure to speak with you guys. This is a wonderful subject, and um, as I say, I work in this industry for more than 10 years. I see a lot of changes, and what I really want that is that people who work in industry, and especially, people with highly influence in industry, come up and speak to the other people and tell them what we are, because these people are successful people. These people have society, they have a lot of business, make a lot of money. They are bossy people. So we have to tell the people that we have another nature, and we what they see it's just a character, but they don't see, the reality. They don't see all kind of effort that we put to build this. They don't see the real person, that they don't see, they only see a character. But we are successful people, and we must be proud of this. This is my my dream. But maybe we will change the image of the adult industry, and I hope it will be better than today, and I'm sure that it will be.
That's right. We are all human at the end of the day. Mm.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Feel free to reach out if you do need anything. And I will end our session now. Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Bye. Thank you.